The NFC South is one of the worst divisions in the NFL this year. And I think that Frank Reich gives the Carolina Panthers a slight edge to win this division. Now, everybody's looking at the New Orleans Saints and the Atlanta Falcons for the two teams who have the best chances of capturing this division title. But what a lot of people seem to overlook is the impact of coaching. And I know if you're a Saints fan, you don't want to talk about who your head coach is because he isn't a good one. He hasn't proven that he's able to lead a playoff caliber football team to even a winning record. And even though he does have Derek Carr isn't going to be enough to make this team a playoff caliber football team if they can't have great coaching. And Dennis Allen, so far throughout his coaching career, he's yet to produce a winning record. And when you look at the majority of head coaches in the league, it doesn't take too long to find out who's a good coach and who's a bad coach. When you get to your first 3 seasons, 4 seasons, and you still have a losing record, you're not a good coach. Nobody is a Bill Belichick. There's only one Bill Belichick. Nobody is Pete Carroll. There's only one Pete Carroll. There are way more coaching hires that end up backfiring when it comes to second chance head coaches than there are head coaches that succeed who are rookie coaches who've never been head coaches before. Second chance head coaches don't really have a promising track record of being able to deliver their second go around. Frank Reich is different though. When you look at Frank Reich, what makes him different from Dennis Allen is that this is somebody who, coming into his second job, actually has a winning record. He's guided his former team to the postseason in the Indianapolis Colts with Phillip Rivers. He has a really good track record at getting the most out of the quarterback position, minus what happened last season in Indy. Dennis Allen, his defenses are really good, but outside of that, he's kind of inept at anything else. And some guys are just really good coordinators and aren't just cut out to be head coaches. And Dennis Allen might be one of those guys. So when I look at the New Orleans Saints, I say, yeah, you got a more talented roster than Carolina, but you have probably the worst coach in the division and Dennis Allen. Same thing with Todd Bowles. I don't think the Buccaneers have a god-awful roster. If they had a better coach, I think they could be a sleeper team. But they got Todd Bowles, who hasn't really had any success, minus that 110-win season that he had as the head coach with the New York Jets. Outside of that, he's been awful as a head coach. And even last season, the Buccaneers made it to the playoffs, but I think it was more due to Tom Brady than it was Todd Bowles. This was the same head coach who called a fake punt up multiple possessions the first drive of halftime on his own side of the field, and it didn't work out. A fake punt. So when I'm looking at Frank Reich compared to the other coaches in the NFC South, he has not just a better track record, but he's also a proven winner. None of these head coaches have proven to be able to guide or be a great leader for a winning caliber football team. You look at Todd Bowles, only one winning season with the New York Jets. The Buccaneers were a massive disappointment last year. They went to the postseason. They won this division, but it wasn't saying much, given the fact that he took over a team that was in the Super Bowl a couple of years ago. And you got the greatest quarterback of all time, Arthur Smith. We don't even know about him yet. This is his make or break year. This is the year that we're going to find out everything we need to know about if Arthur Smith has what it takes to be a head coach in this league. And when you look at Dennis Allen, he didn't win when he was with the Raiders, and he didn't win his first season as the head coach with New Orleans. We've already seen a good sample size of Dennis Allen as a head coach. And based on history, he isn't going to work out. Frank Reich is a winner. He's proven. And remember Doug Peterson and Jacksonville with Trevor Lawrence? Although this isn't the same exact situation, Frank Reich isn't as good as a head coach as Doug Peterson. Frank Reich is a pretty solid head coach. And solid head coaches and weak divisions, more times than not, if they get solid quarterback play, they end up winning these divisions. Remember Bill O'Brien when he was the head coach of the Houston Texans and he had Deshaun Watson? The AFC South was down those years. So if you got a capable quarterback and you are a capable head coach, more times than not, you're going to be able to win a division that's as bad as what the NFC South is going into this season, with two bad coaches that got two losing records and a head coach in Arthur Smith who is entering his make or break season. Frank Reich is going to have the Carolina Panthers prepared. They're going to be better well coached, and they're going to be better in late game situations. Dennis Allen isn't good with the clock. He isn't good in fourth down situations. A lot of Saints fans have called him out for being super conservative. You look at Frank Reich, this is somebody who was fired not because he was a bad coach, but simply because Indianapolis kept playing musical chairs with the quarterback position. Oh, they got a rookie quarterback. When you got a great head coach or a solid head coach, the quarterback is going to be solid. Frank Reich is an offensive-minded head coach. Offensive-minded coaches are taking over the league. And anytime you got a young QB with the offensive-minded head coach, normally it ends up working out. So Bryce Young, what was different about him compared to the other QBs in the draft that got taken after him? His processing, how well he's able to understand and read defenses. He's already learning a good amount of the playbook, and, he's kind of ahead of pace. He's already won the starting job over Andy Dalton right after minicamp. He was announced the starter the first day of training camp by Frank Reich. So Bryce Young, this is somebody who was insanely talented coming out of Alabama, former Heisman winner. He's going to a situation that has a good head coach that knows offense, that's going to put him in situations to succeed. He has a solid team around him. I trust the Panthers and Frank Reich more than I trust any other team in this division. I'm not going to put my faith in the team that has a head coach with a losing record. A lot of people have to stop overlooking the impact of a head coach. These head coaches just don't win games because they got great teams. You remember all those years the Dallas Cowboys were going 8-8 with the master clapper, Jason Garrett? The reason why was because Jason Garrett was just a bad head coach. Bad head coaches underachieve. Great head coaches win championships. It's simple. And when you got a bad head coach that constantly underachieves and doesn't meet expectations compared to a guy like Frank Reich that has delivered, compare his resume to Dennis Allen. If you're a Saints fan, who would you rather have, Frank Reich or Dennis Allen today as your head coach? Nearly every team in the NFC South will probably choose Frank Reich over their current head coach. You want to know why? Because he's proven. And when you got the best head coach in the division, it always gives you an opportunity to have a shot at winning the title when you're in these kinds of weak divisions. Now, if the Panthers were in the AFC West or the AFC East, it would be a different story, because then coaching wouldn't be enough to get you over the top, because you're going against other teams that have great coaching plus better rosters than you. But you're going against the NFC South, where your roster is pretty average, and the majority of these other teams, minus the Saints, have average to maybe slightly above average rosters. The only reason I don't include the Saints is because their roster actually is really good, and if they had a head coach that was better than Dennis Allen, I would have them as a lock to win this division. If they had Sean Payton as their head coach, I would have them as a dark horse Super Bowl contender. But they don't. They have Dennis Allen, and he's not good. So I think that Frank Reich gives the Panthers a little bit of an edge when it comes to winning the NFC South.